I heard an interesting question posed on a local sports radio show on the way out here. Do you guys think that the NFL, as much money as they bring in, they can actually have these officials be full-time? They have plenty of money to pay these guys full-time to kind of hone their craft. Okay. Would that fix a lot
I don't
of
think
mistakes?
that's realistic. I really don't. No, I don't. Because
billion-dollar industry?
Well, it doesn't.
Multi-billion.
Here's why. Because the pool of referees have been refereeing for a long time, but they're professionals, right? I mean, they have real jobs. They're intelligent guys. A lot of them played sports. A lot of them played football. They're attorneys.
And hockey
they're
leagues,
executives.
Yeah.
And hockey league. I know a lot of these referees. They're not gonna give up that career, that day job, and there really isn't that much for these referees to do outside of what they're doing during the regular season. They have meetings throughout the summer, right? They're evaluated after every game. If you're a really bad referee, you'll be out. Okay? I mean, they will get rid of you. So I don't think they need to be full-time.
So you think there's a certain point where you've kind of learned all you need to know?
Okay, if you say you have to be a full-time referee, you're going to lose a lot of the good ones that you have right now.
So
And then
you
what
say
do
it like it's
replace
negative.
them
You
with?
have to be a full-time referee. I would think some of them would like that. It just aren't.
Maybe.
It's not lucrative enough right now.
Well, but it's a pretty good paying job for a side income. I mean, after their new deal,
pretty
they
good
held
when
out,
you're a huge part
but
of the
there's
NFL.
no way the NFL is going to pay these guys what $300,000 or $400,000 a piece or $500,000.
They have it.
No,
They're too busy monitoring Twitter and betting.
I'd much rather them. Hey, I'd much rather them fix whatever they have to, electronically, and just make the right call on the spot with the eye in the sky or whatever help and resources they have in New York. But I don't think it's going to change where these guys are full time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Guys, we still want to hear from you. 602-685-3017. Again, 602-685-3017. Also, you can chime in on Twitter. ABC15 Cards is the hashtag. Also, big news. We have another special guest joining us in a few minutes. ABC15 Sports Director Craig Fouhy is in the house again. And Craig, are you back for sure Tuesday? You just got back? He's back tomorrow, making his first appearance since leaving for medical leave. Love to have him back, and he's going to join us here in a few minutes. If you have a question for Craig or any one of us, 602-685-3017. Just a few minutes ago, Bruce Arians stepped to the podium. We'll hopefully hear what he had to say coming up. But guys, I know we talked about it last night, Tom. Spending a week in West Virginia.
Right.
Greenbrier Hotel.
You ready over there, Shane?
Okay. What's that?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because these two, I do too.
No,
these two have very different opinions
tell us why
on
the
this.
Cardinals lost because they stayed on the.
You know what?
Did the Greenbrier Hotel have any effect on the loss?
Okay, I love how you just oversimplified this, okay? Number one,
It's
let's get real
shit.
here, ladies and gentlemen. What are we talking about today? We're talking about a lack of focus, okay? Have we ever talked about a lack of focus for the Cardinals? Is that a regular topic of conversation that we have? The answer is no.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
9 penalties last week.
Okay, but they won the game. So
6 turnovers on the defense.
Listen,
That's how they won the
utterly
game.
naive if you don't think the fact that these guys who you completely turn their routine upside down, that's what leads to lack of focus.
Sad.
That's what Steve Kine. I'm not saying the fact that if you stay at a resort the whole week that it
These are
guarantees
men.
a loss, but how can you look at this and say, gee, what's different about this past week? I don't know. They stayed in West Virginia the whole week, in the middle of nowhere. That affects your preparation and your routine. Do CEOs, when they have business meetings, if they have a meeting in New York and then a meeting in Washington a week later, do they stay the whole week? It's not like you have to do this. I just think it's a stupid idea. That's my personal opinion. Baltimore isn't doing it this week. They played yesterday against the 49ers. They play next week against the Cardinals. They were thinking of doing it, but they changed their mind. And again, I'm not saying that is why they lost. I'm saying part of the reason they were unfocused and undisciplined is the fact that these guys, and I know it for a fact because I talk to players, and I know they're not in love with the idea of staying out there the whole week.
So 3
Who
weeks.
would want to do that if you have a family?
So
Who would
3
want
weeks
Who
to
would want to stay in a
hotel
5-star
the whole week?
hotel?
Right. Or in his
These
Honda.
guys stay in
awful.
5-star hotels
All right.
all the time.
3
and that
weeks
hotel
ago.
There you
is
go,
as nice
all
as
the
you think.
time.
It's
So
not
what's
as
that
nice
like?
as you
Thank
think
you.
it is. That is an old hotel. It's not like staying at the Four
3 weeks
Seasons.
ago, Tom, when the Cardinals laid an egg to the Rams, were they staying in hotels the night before, or were they at home? That's number one. Second of all, when my wife and I went on vacation a month ago, okay, and I came. It's always tough to come back to work after a week-long vacation, okay. But if my work had suffered, and I had to go to my supervisor's office and explain why my work suffered, do you think, well, I'm just not focused after a week? Do you think that would have been a good enough reason for anyone?
I missed the fact that the Cardinals were on vacation last week. That's my bad. I thought they were
away from
play
home.
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We were out of our routine. For a week.
But not
very sad.
There's a huge difference. Have you ever traveled a lot? I mean, I used to travel all the time.
No, I've been here my whole life.
You've been everywhere.
Well, that has nothing to do
World
with it.
traveler Tom Zinner.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you travel for business on a weekly basis, it wears you out.
Yeah.
It's not as fun as staying at the Greenbrier.
So when the Cardinals put up almost 300 yards of total offense in the first half, were they worn out then?
Was the game over at halftime?
I'm just saying. I mean, if they had kept on putting up the yards.
Wait.
No, I can keep going on this for a long time. we do have some.
Today's Cardinals Countdown is brought to you by Sanderson Ford and powered by the Ford F-150. Check it out at sandersonford.com. This is ABC 15's Cardinals Countdown.
From Four Creeks Brewing Company in Scottsdale, we were just diving into a very interesting topic, and we've got some debate going on. I hate that it was halted there, but the greenhouse effect, aka the Greenbrier Hotel, did it have an effect? The Cardinals staying all week in Sulphur Springs, whatever it was, White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, all week, and they come out and make that many mental mistakes. Tom, on one side, says absolutely. Shane says absolutely not.
Go ahead. This is not a personal argument.
It is.
I brought this point up last week.
I'm making it personal right now.
Here, this is all I'm saying. It's not because they stayed at the Greenbrier Hotel
But
for a
did
full
it
week
have
that
an
they lost.
effect?
But the fact that they lost the game has something to do with the fact that they were completely out of rhythm the past week and stayed away and at this resort. And now I know the New Orleans Saints have had their training camp there, so they have some semblance of fields they can practice on. But I don't know. Even Steve Keim said it this morning on his radio show. I mean, the number one thing was a lack of focus. And I just go back and try to examine what would cause a lack of focus in a game that they were supposed to be ready for and be emotionally up for this game. And I'm just thinking, what's different about this past week? All I'm saying is I think it played a role in the preparation of the team and maybe them not being as ready as they should have been yesterday.
My only point, 9 penalties committed this week. Yes, mental mistakes. 9 penalties committed last week. And they weren't in the Greenbrier Hotel.
A couple days ago, the Oklahoma Sooners, their flight was delayed to Kansas State by 8 hours. They got to the stadium 15 hours before the game. Did that throw off their focus? No, they went in and beat Kansas State 55-0. You know why? Because they were the better team, and that's what better teams are supposed to do. When wrenches thrown into your plans, and it wasn't like the Cardinals' flight was delayed. They stayed at a hotel for a week.
5-star.
5-star hotel. Granted, it was haunted. I mean, we got
you said they were uncomfortable. These beds are hard as a rock. Absolutely not.
It's because they weren't in their own beds. It's not an excuse for losing
So
to a first-string quarterback who had never thrown a touchdown pass.
A late
before.
flight.
Yeah.
So a late flight of a few hours is the same as being away from your family for 9 days.
They're away
To
from
me,
their
there's a
families
difference.
all the time.
It's not all or nothing. I'm not saying this is the only reason. I'm just saying if you look at this, the fact that and I would love to hear the Cardinals if they were honest about this week. Why didn't say was it the perfect scenario?
Why don't we hear from
Cardinals?
Cardinals?
Play a little bit of a role in the fact that they were off their game yesterday and a little.
Yeah, what are the fans
Why don't we hear
saying?
from Cardinal
focused.
fans on Facebook about whether it was a good or bad idea or whether that actually
But
contributed?
don't phrase the question, did the Cardinals lose because they
We
stayed
didn't
at the
say
Greenbrier?
because.
I'm not
My
saying the
question
Cardinals
was carefully
lost.
posed.
I'm saying
did it
that
play
they
a
lost.
role in the loss?
Okay. Got Dennis Moran here says, was it a mistake to stay on the East Coast? No. It was a mistake to not score when we dominated the first half. Arians is always ready for a game. We contained Vic, had the game in the balance. When Vic left, it was obvious the defense was not ready for a QB that could actually hit his receivers. I think that's 100% true.
Okay, but it wasn't the Cardinals' choice to not score. They didn't say, "Hey, let's not
Yeah,
score right now."
You're right.
So that's not really a.
All right. We got Manny Espinoza here. Says yes, because all the penalties, bad play calling, and defense would have shown up only if they had come home. Not. How are you going to outpass and outrush in the first half and then have the wheels fall off in the second half? So.
Yeah, wouldn't you make the argument, Tom, that the first half, they came out focused. They looked good. They dominated the game. The only thing they didn't do was finish drives off. So straight from the Greenbrier Hotel to game time, that first half, they dominated. You can't blame the second half at all.
See, I disagree. I don't think they completely dominated. They certainly had an advantage in the statistical categories, but that game was.
I think they
still up for
dominated
grabs
every
at
phase
half.
of the game.
Well,
The
the
first
other
half
thing that
just
certainly
scored
helped
and
was Mike Vick was playing quarterback at that time.
Yeah.
Right? And we've all agreed that they probably weren't going to win with Mike Vick. So, hey, we can agree to disagree. I believe.
No, you have to agree with me, and then we'll
You have to take human nature into this. Why would someone want to be away? Why would they think it's an advantage to be away from their home for 9 days?
Baseball players do it all the time when they find ways to win on the road.
It's a totally different culture. That is what they do.
It's
They
pro
go on
sports.
long road trips. That's my point. They're used to doing it. That's how they're brought up in baseball. In football, you're not used to doing it. It completely throws you off.
All right, here's one person who agrees with you, just to make it a little fair. Cindy Roseberry says they spent the last week at a spa versus practicing. It showed in how they played. Of course, they did practice too, but I think the point is that they stayed at the resort, maybe treated it more like a vacation, which I disagree with. But
Yeah, I saw some fans on Twitter say if they would have spent a little more time focused on the game as opposed to going out there on the golf course, which is just that's absurd. That's not what they were doing, and I don't think they were out of their pregame ritual at all. The only difference was yes, they're in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. But let's talk about this being an especially tough loss for Bruce Arians. I mean, this is a game. There's no doubt he had this one circled heading into the season. How tough is this on him?
Well, if he was younger, he'd let it linger. He certainly wanted to win that game, and he had it circled. I mean, he's very tight with a lot of the people that are still out there on that Steelers staff, including the Steelers defensive coordinator. He's very close with him. So I think, I don't think he felt real good walking off that field. I'm sure he was a little bit humiliated, right? He walked in, with the swagger, and the Cardinals were, clearly the better team going in, and that's not how he expected that game to end. So, but he's professional, he's mature, he's been around so long, he's not going to pin everything on the outcome of that game in October. So he'll have everybody focused, and as laser sharp as he will be this week, that will transfer over to the team during preparation.
Yep.
And we talked about the Steelers game mirroring the Rams game in so many ways. Bruce Arians just said it's like deja vu. Same kind of finish.
The late
kind of
Yogi
problems.
Berra, deja vu all over
again. Yeah, it's bizarre because the Cardinals didn't come out flat, but they got there eventually. That's the thing, and that's why I don't think, again, the whole West Virginia saying their thing was such a big deal, because the Cardinals came out looking sharp. That 50-yard pass to John Brown to start the game, some stupid mistakes. I don't know if you can blame mental errors on staying at a 5-star hotel and we're not going to go down that road again. I know.
Do you guys know for sure the Greenbrier's 5-star? I know it's a luxury hotel, but I don't know if it's 5-star.
4-star would completely change the conversation.
I'll put a Four Peaks beer on it. Even though I'm a big spender, but still. I bet all three of us can agree when they headed into halftime, 10-3. It just felt like yikes. The fact that they controlled the first half and they still had the Steelers in the game at home at Heinz Field, it kind of just felt like it could spell disaster, and it did.
It did. And then you look at that forced fumble on John Brown, where James Harrison just willed that fumble.
Yeah.
Right, and you knew they were going to create plays like that. They have the personnel to do that. So, it was up for grabs. And the Steelers, I think, okay, we've got them right where we want them. We are within striking distance, and then they bring in a quarterback that actually, can get something done, can actually throw the football down the field and find an open receiver.
Who would have thought that'd be
Landry? Never would have thought in a million years it would be their third-string quarterback. And then they built, how about at the beginning of the third quarter? I'm not used to seeing Heinz Field with that many empty seats. I'm not saying people left, but they sure took their time getting back into their seats,
sure.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
For Pittsburgh, the hardcore fans that they have out there. So I think a lot of people were thinking, I don't know. If we have our third-string quarterback, are we going to be able to get it done? But once they started getting a little life, they built on it, created turnovers, and the Cardinals never were able to find that next year yesterday.
Again, I really thought that the Cardinals were going to just finally turn it on and pile, because you look at the yardage disparity in the first half. I really thought, guys, that the Cardinals were eventually going to get it. There's no way that they're not going to be able to get it together. I never thought that when that touchdown when Michael Floyd was taken off the board, they were never going to get it back. That surprised the heck out of me. I mean, I understand the lesson is you can't let a good team at home hang around. But still, I thought usually it's one of those situations where reality sets in and it's the opposite happened. Landry Jones comes in, and I know the Cardinals didn't prep for him, but come on.
They should have forced 1 or 2 turnovers. The other debate is, should they put more pressure on Landry Jones?
Yeah.
Should they have brought the house? They weren't blitzing him like they normally do, and I think they were thinking, we'll just stay back in our normal coverage and we'll confuse him. We don't have to have the extra
Was that
heat
the
on
right
him.
call? It was very questionable because you would think a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, boom, get right in his face.
In retrospect, it probably wasn't. I'm sure they could look at that and second guess it, but who would have thought the scenario that he could sit back there and pick their defense apart?
I also think that when Landry Jones came in the ball game, the Cardinals had one focus, and that was to stop Le'Veon Bell. If we can stop Le'Veon Bell, we'll win this game because Landry just doesn't have it.
They did that for most of the game, too. But
They did?
Real quick, guys. Apparently, tight end Darren Fells, he left the game in the second quarter. He got a shoulder strain. The Cardinals are waiting for the MRI results to see what's going on with him. It's really a shame because Fells had a pretty good season so far, and the Cardinals actually had a tight end they could throw to for the first time in a long time with Fells. So hopefully he doesn't miss a lot of action.
Yeah.
But as far as Le'Veon Bell, I actually wrote on last week that the Cardinals, as long as because Le'Veon Bell's going to get his yards, but as long as they contain him, Le'Veon Bell's
under 100 yards. I think it was 88.
and you wouldn't expect it. Okay, Le'Veon Bell's contained. Antonio Brown doesn't do much, and yet they still find a way to lose. Not in a million years would I have thought that scenario would have played out on Sunday, and it did. I'm just not shocked they lost. I'm shocked by the way it happened.
So many elements are shocking on this Monday. One, Landry Jones, of course. And the fact that the Cardinals contained Le'Veon Bell, kept him under 100 yards. He didn't get in the end zone. Yeah, they didn't have any touchdowns on the ground.
No.
I mean,